Going on, guys? It is a Wednesday night. My eyes are just glued to the TV, so that's why I'm a little bit late here, because the game I know is in the closing moments. Very exciting game too. It's game one. That's not what I don't mean game two, but poor Dynamite up against game one of the NBA Finals, which has turned into a hell of a game. I'll tell you what Dynamite though turned into a hell of a show. Here tonight. It was a wildly overbooked main event that we got in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, with Will Ospreay going one-on-one with Mark Davis. And when I say overbooked, I lost count of how many people ran in to interfere in that match and the multiple ref bumps and everything else. You would think this was WrestleMania 40. This was WrestleMania 40 levels of overbooking. If WrestleMania 40 had about 5 or 6 more people who decided to run in during the match. And I got to tell you, I kind of loved it. And the people in the building, I don't know where they were tonight, but the people in the building were losing their minds. They were losing their freaking mind for these two guys. But in the end, it was the outcome that you just had to expect coming into it. Will Ospreay is going to the finals of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. He has bested Samoa Joe. He has bested Mark Davis. And now he will meet either Swerve Strickland or Brody King. Swerve Strickland being the one who makes the most sense, especially given the history these two guys have at that event. They had a great match 2 years ago that Swerve came out on the winning end of. I suspect that'll be a little bit different this time around. So yeah, of course, it was a predictable outcome, but it turned into a hell of a main event. And this is the second week in a row now that we have gotten a Mark Davis main event on Dynamite. And I'm here for it. The guy goes out there, he has killer matches. Tonight was no different. That match was freaking crazy there by the end. I know there was a lot going on, but you have the Death Riders running in to fend off the Don Callis family, the Callis family fighting back against the Death Riders. It was insanity. At the end of Dynamite. I don't know that it needed to go 15 minutes overtime, but we had a 15-minute overrun with tonight's show. So Ospreay advances in the Owen. He is not the only person who moved on in the Owen Hart tournament tonight, because tonight we had to find out who the wild card was going to be against Alex Windsor, because Willow Nightingale got hurt. She had to vacate her TBS championship, which I'm going to talk about that actually in a moment. And she had to pull out of the Owen. Now, originally, it was going to be Willow and Alex Windsor a double or nothing. And the fact that they decided to not do that match and they did Athena against Mina Shirakawa instead. The one thing I said was, well, it can't be Mercedes Mone. Because if it was going to be the big return of Mercedes Mone, surely they would do it at double or nothing. We haven't seen this woman on television since New Year's Eve. The fact that they didn't do the match on the pay-per-view told me, well, it'll probably be somebody else that doesn't have the kind of name that she does. Well, I'll be damned. But tonight, lo and behold, guess who showed up? Guess who made her return tonight to AEW television? Mercedes Mone. She came out to enter herself into the Owen Hart tournament now, the second year in a row. She won the tournament last year. I think we all see where she's headed to this year. She is moving on to the next round. She is going to be wrestling the winner of the match coming up between Persephone and Hazuki, which I believe is happening on Collision this weekend. So that was a little confusing to me. I don't know if the plan was for her to come back in this match. I don't know why they would not have done it in New York in front of that crowd on that pay-per-view. That's a little confusing to me. But we have those two names that are moving on in the tournament. Meanwhile, MJF defended his AEW World Championship against Roosh. And Mark Briscoe made it very clear that he is coming for MJF in that AEW World Championship. He cut a hell of a promo tonight. A very serious promo. Which was a little jarring because he's out there doing redneck kung fu and wrestling Leo Rush, who's doing this Blackheart gimmick. And we go from that to, again, what was a very serious post-match promo, but one that I thought was very effective and very good. I don't know that I see that as the AEW World title match for Forbidden Door, even though it looks like we're probably headed in that direction. But again, Hell of a promo that we will talk about a little bit later on. And Kevin Knight, he defended his TNT title against his now former partner, Speedball Mike Bailey, but not before joining the Don Callis family. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Because if you thought that Takeshita leaving the family was going to mean they were one man down, we can't have that. We have to replace him. We have to have there's a certain number of Callis family members, it's like a quota, that you have to fill. You can't drop below that number. You're not allowed to. They're contractually obligated to stay at a certain number. Fuck if I know what that number is at this point. But yes, the one thing that the Don Callis family needed more of is yet another member. And that member is Kevin Knight. Now, having said all of that, as ridiculous as it is that we're still adding members to this fucking faction, it's not all bad. It's not, at least not for Kevin Knight. Maybe for the other members of the Don Callis family who are a little below him. But for Kevin Knight, look, at the end of the day, it's very clear that Tony Khan loves Kevin Knight, and he's going to push Kevin Knight. So whether Kevin Knight has Don Callis in his corner, whether he has nobody in his corner, if he would have joined the Hurt Syndicate, if they would have had him doing any number of things, Kevin Knight is in for a big push here in 2026, no matter what. So if you're a Kevin Knight fan, it's not like, oh my God, he's going to get lost in the shuffle. I'm not worried about him getting lost in the shuffle. If I were one of the lesser members of this group, I would be a little concerned. But if I were Kevin Knight, it's not as if it's going to harm him. It's just ludicrous that we continue to add people and yet we're not subtracting enough at the same time. It'd be one thing if we were shedding members. It's almost like turnover. You know, there's like a certain turnover that happens every few months. They lose 3 guys, they gain 3 more. It's not even that. They're just adding and adding and adding. It's unbelievable. They keep multiplying. They keep multiplying. There was a very funny moment tonight, though, with Don Callis. Very embarrassing, but very funny, that we'll talk about. I thought this was a very good show tonight. There was a lot going on. There was some really good wrestling. We'll talk about it. We had quite the night last Wednesday here on the stream, especially with that $500 bomb that we got from KB Good. I don't think it's going to be quite that crazy tonight, but hey, you never know. This is the AEW Dynamite review here. It is Wednesday. It is June 3rd. It is 2026. I am the Solomonster. Let me do a very quick check of where we are in this game. Oh my goodness. A little over a minute left, and the Knicks are up by 3. This is a hell of a game, I gotta say. You know, the backstage at Dynamite, there was a monitor or something that was on, and they were all crowded around it, watching this game tonight. Anyway, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Super chats are open. I'll be reading your messages as I always do. I know we got a bunch of them that came in earlier, and I appreciate that, but we got to spin the wheel. We got some business to transact here before we go any further. We must find out what our goal for tonight is with the likes. Let's find out. Spin, spin, spin. 350. Okay, that's a little more reasonable than what we had the other night. But we're at 212 right now. 212 likes, so let's see. Let's see what we can do. 350 is the goal. I think that's attainable. But that's going to be up to you guys. Oh, it looks like they pulled away. It's going to be a good day in New York tomorrow. Man, from what I saw, this game was a freaking war. But I said it the other night. I said it last night, actually, on TNT. Knicks in 6. That was my pick. Knicks in 6. Maybe they could wrap it up a little bit earlier. I guess it depends on what Danhausen does. Good thing Danhausen isn't in AEW near Don Callis. Yeah, we need Danhausen to curse the Don Callis family. I feel like before Danhausen left AEW, he put a curse on all of us that we have to be subjected to a constant stream of new members in the Don Callis family. We had footage that aired from earlier in the day of Renee backstage with Roosh. And he spoke about finally getting a title shot, saying he's waited 3 years for this and he's willing to die in the ring if that's what it takes. He says this is for his people, this is for his family, this is for pride. And he'll take the title because when you mess with the bull, and before he could finish, MJF interrupted. And he slapped him in the face. And he said that if he's the bull, that makes MJF the matador. And Roosh took him down and they had to be separated. So that was earlier. So now we're back live in the back with Renee and Roosh. And she informed him that they just found out that there would be no countouts in their match tonight. Which is very strange, right? Disqualifications are still valid. You can be disqualified in this match, but there's no countouts. Which I guess was just an excuse to allow them to fuck around outside the ring and not get counted out. But it's a little strange that they would say no countouts only. It just kind of came about very randomly there. So Andrade walked in. He told Roosh to do this for his family, to do this for anyone who says that he can be a world champion. Nice little pep talk that he gave to Roosh. And that led into our opening contest, which was for the AEW World Championship. MJF defending against Roosh. And this right here is why MJF is in the position that he is in. MJF comes out and he is dressed like Tito Santana. He comes out, he's got the cape, he's got the hat, you see it right there, the whole getup. He comes out dressed as a matador. And I laughed. I thought of Santana. Ole! Arriba! So he gets to the ring and he tells Justin Roberts to tell the fans that he took out their hometown boy, Hangman Adam Page, who can never challenge again for the AEW World title, and also how all the fans put the Virgin in Virginia. Well, I guess that answers my question from before. They were in Virginia tonight. I was like, I don't know where Dynamite was. It was in the opening promo. He mentioned it. Fucking Virginia. So the fans didn't like that very much. Now, Roosh, he landed a somersault dive out to the floor early in the match. He ended up choking MJF with a camera cord before Bryce Remsburg reminded him it's no count out, not no disqualification. So that little delay, though, allowed MJF to gain the upper hand. When he charged Roosh, though, he got taken over the timekeeper's barricade with an overhead throw, and he kind of landed on and bounced off the table that was sitting there on the other side of the barricade. So back inside the ring, Roosh ripped off one of the top turnbuckle pads. He went for the bull's horns. MJF, though, went to the apron to avoid it. So Roosh went to run MJF into the exposed buckle. Remsburg stood in the way to stop him from doing so. MJF shoved Remsburg out of the way, and then he slammed Roosh's head into the steel buckle instead, which opened him up, and so Roosh now was bleeding from the forehead. MJF got the salt of the earth armbar applied. Roosh, though, broke the hold, and he had a pile driver on the apron. That took us into a break. So Roosh goes over outside the ring, and now both guys are suffering. Roosh is favoring his arm, and MJF is hurting. And the doctor, the ringside doctor, is conferring with the referee. And they're talking to Justin Roberts about how both men are they're not in a condition to continue in this match. Which is bullshit, of course. It's a fucking world championship match. And I'm like, this is kind of weak. But that's what they're telling Justin Roberts. And before he can make any kind of announcement about stopping the match, Roosh goes over, he headbutts the doctor. He gave the ringside doctor a headbutt. Apparently, so the match continued. The match went on because apparently there's no other doctors in the building. The one doctor got, laid out. And so, oh, shit, well, I guess this match must continue. So Roosh hit the bull's horns and he covered MJF, who put his hand on the bottom rope at the very last minute. Roosh went for another pile driver on the apron. MJF, though, avoided it. And Roosh was selling his left arm. He went for the bull's horns on the floor. MJF moved, and Roosh, he hit the barricade. And in doing so, he just basically went right through it, knocked it over into the crowd. MJF then picked him up. He gave him a tombstone pile driver on the piece of barricade or barrier that was laying there on the floor. Dumped him on his head. So back inside, MJF avoided a missile dropkick, got Roosh in the label lock. And Roosh was trapped, but he kind of tilted his head to look up at MJF, and he stuck his tongue out. And MJF had a look on his face like he couldn't believe it. And then he flips MJF off with his one free hand, but then he starts to fade, and then eventually Roosh goes out. And the referee calls for the stoppage. You know, as great as a lot of those Darby Allin title defenses ended up being, because there were a lot of really good title matches that he had on Dynamite, when he was running himself ragged every single week defending that belt. As good as many of those matches were, I would put this one up there with maybe not all of them. I'm not saying it was better than all of those, but I would put this up there with many of those matches. This is a very good match, really good stuff here. The biggest match of Roosh's AEW run so far since he joined the company, and he had the crowd solidly behind him. And again, it's a combination of people, I think, liking Roosh, but also just disliking MJF. When you're a good heel, you want people to be invested in the other person beating you and taking the title. Roosh is not the strongest challenger in the company. I mean, the guys that he's been beating on TV to build up this win streak that they talked about are a bunch of scrubs. It's no one of any notoriety. But he beat like 5, 6, 7 people in a row, and then he won that 4-way match last week, and all of a sudden he's challenging for the world championship. So it's not like he was built up in some super strong way, but it's, again, a lot of it has to do with the fact that MJF, he knows how to get heat. He knows what he's doing, right? He's very hateable. And so the people, A, they want to see a title change, and B, they want to see him lose the belt. And so it makes for a fun atmosphere. Now, after the match, MJF was about to hit Roosh with the belt when Mark Briscoe ran out. And Briscoe, he ducked a belt shot. He got him hooked for a J-driller. MJF got out of it. He kicked Briscoe in the balls. He was setting up to hit Briscoe with the championship until he spotted Orange Cassidy, Tomohiro Ishii, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly running out, and so he bailed. And that was the end of that. Now, Mark Briscoe, he stuck around because after the commercial break, he went one-on-one with the Blackheart, Lio Rush. Now, as Lio was making his entrance, Orange Cassidy and the other members of the conglomeration were leaving, but they stopped in their tracks, and they froze. Remember how back, if you were a fan of Saved by the Bell back in the day, for those of you old enough to remember Saved by the Bell, and how in the middle of an episode, like, Zach would, like, snap his fingers and everybody would freeze, and then he would just look at the camera and address us, the audience, right? I love it when people just sort of freeze. They're just frozen in place. What they did here was, I guess this is kind of the new thing now, where if you don't move, the creature within Lio Rush, I guess he won't recognize that, you know, you're standing there until he'll ignore you and he'll just leave you alone and keep walking. So you don't want to move a muscle, right? I guess that's the idea behind it. And as soon as he kind of, because he walked, he kind of crawled past them, they started moving again, but then he turned around to look, and so they froze again. So basically this was like Squid Game, where they're playing red light, green light. And then finally, once the coast was clear, they fucking hightailed it to the back. So yes, exactly. Just like the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. Yes. That's exactly what it's like. Wow, they won by 10. And they really ran it up there a little bit at the end, huh? Well, congrats. Congrats to all the Knicks fans out there. I already hear some fireworks outside my window. What is that, like 11 now? Is that 11 or 12? I think that's 12 in a row. I'm telling you, man, the curse is real. Curse has extended now. It's extended from the Cavs to the Spurs. That's crazy. Yes, red light, green light. Have you not seen Squid Game? That's exactly what they did here. Anyway, this match here, Briscoe, Lio Rush. It was fun enough with Lio. He was doing all of his usual hijinks. I've talked about this gimmick. I like it. Is it ridiculous? Is it silly? Is it goofy? Sure. I mean, he plays it well. I don't know. I feel like the show could use stuff like this. It's so unlike anything that you would normally see on an episode of Dynamite. Like when they first started featuring him on the show, I was kind of hoping like, look, hopefully this can be a regular thing where you get him multiple appearances on these shows. The one thing I will say is that I think they need to do more of. I'm not saying fill the show with Lio Rush segments, but it would be nice to feature him maybe in some backstage stuff now. Instead of just him coming to the ring and, kneeling in the corner and mumbling to himself. If you want to, again, try to flesh this out a little bit more or try to better understand exactly what's going on here and have other people in the back, like he's trying to interact with them and they're all freaked out. I still think there's more potential to explore things with this character. So I'm glad that Tony is at least trying to give him some consistent time here on this show. He doesn't win. But then again, I used to say that about Mark Davis. There's hope. I don't have a lot of hope, but there is hope that at some point, maybe this thing will, catch on a little bit better and he could start to win some matches. The problem is, again, he's not a big guy. And so they're not going to have him in there beating guys that are twice his size. Unless he's going to push him, give him some sort of push to a title, but that's not something I would be doing, not right now. The key, though, I think, is just to feature him consistently, and maybe we could learn a little bit more about what the fuck is going on here. Because every week you kind of sit around wondering, like, are we ever going to get an explanation for why he is the way he is? Hasn't happened yet. Briscoe beat him, though. Beat him with a cutthroat driver. This was really more important to get Briscoe out there so he could cut the post-match promo, which was really the important part of this here. So there was a cameraman in the ring. He wasn't looking at the hard cam, but we had a cameraman in the ring. And so he was looking dead into the camera. And he goes, he wanted to address one man. And that man is MJF. He wants to take us back to January of 2023. That was the day that Brie mode was activated. I believe it was a Tuesday. Venom Kitetsu, thank you for the $25 Brie mode. Said dad had back surgery, so took the day off to get him home and run errands after being discharged. So a rare Wednesday off of work. Thought I would check out the Sicko crowd and help with the Be the Booker progress. I appreciate that. I hope your dad's doing well. Hopefully he recovers quickly. I'm actually going in for something minor tomorrow. They have to put me out for it, though. I love how they won't let you home unless you have a chaperone. I'm like, is this really necessary? And they're like, yes. You're going to be under anesthesia. You're going to wake up. You're not allowed to drive. You have to have somebody here. So anyway, that's where I'll be tomorrow. I'll be going under for a procedure. But anyway, I wish your dad the best. Hopefully he heals quickly. But he wants to take us back to January of 2023. When his brother Jay was taken from us, he goes, just like that. One day later, it was Mark's birthday. 1 week later was what would have been Jay's birthday. And instead of celebrating together like they always used to do and eating birthday cake, said that he was in the ring making his debut in AEW, but he was making his debut alone, right? Because, I mean, these two guys had been together in the ring together for 20 years. So it was a very strange feeling for him to be out there all by himself. And you can only imagine the whirlwind of emotions, he said. He's got all this anger and rage, and he has to kind of push it down and keep it there. AEW may have saved his life. Says that's his therapy. That's how he got his anger out. But down at his core, he couldn't find any joy. And then he found some friends who were down to conglomerate, and he said that his heart was full again. And then he crossed paths with MJF. And week by week, slowly but surely, with all the bullshit that was coming out of MJF's mouth, the rage and the anger returned, and he says he's never hated a man as much as he hates MJF. And you know what happened when I got my hands on you? He said, I pinned your bloody ass in the middle of the ring. And then you went away, and it felt good because I was able to breathe again. But your ugly ass came back, and the rage all came back. But now you have something that I want. That's the AEW World title. And I'm not like you. I don't bitch and complain because I'm a grinder. I come to work, and I do what I'm supposed to do. And so he's calling out MJF's manhood. He goes, Max, I'm calling you out. Feels like I've got some demons on me. He goes, isn't that fitting, devil? And he pointed out he's got some Hebrew letters tattooed, Mark does, on his, it's like his upper chest. And he says the letter tattoo says child of God. And he doesn't know if Max read the book or not, but the devil loses. He says, now stop being a moist-ass bitch and give me a title shot. And that was his closing mic drop moment there. I thought he killed it with this promo. This was great. This was just a great, serious promo. Again, you know, Mark Briscoe goes out there. He's all, you know, happy and trying to have fun and acting all goofy. That's not what this was. Now, it was very clear last week they were going to be setting him up for a title match at some point with MJF. This was the promo to really drive it home as something serious. This is not just another match to him, right? This is personal. And here's why, right? He let everybody know, this is why I hate this man. All the comments that MJF made during their feud, he would bring up Jay, he would invoke his name. And this is back before they had their tables and tax match last year, which Mark won. Which I pointed out last week, at least there you have a reason why Mark Briscoe would want a title shot, right? I beat you. I know I can beat you. Now, you didn't have the belt back then, but now you do. And so I want it. It's a very simple story. Now, it's not ideal because these guys were feuding a fucking year ago, right? 9 months ago. All this time has gone by. MJF went away for a little bit. Briscoe went away a little bit earlier this year. I think it might have been a storyline injury thing, as I recall. So that's not ideal. Having all of this time go by, it's like Kyle O'Reilly. I pointed this out when O'Reilly had that match at Double or Nothing a couple weeks ago with Jon Moxley. I mean, technically it was a well-worked wrestling match. It was not the most exciting thing in the world, but it lost a lot of steam, that feud, because they were building up Kyle O'Reilly last year and kind of giving him a little bit of a push, where Jon Moxley, who was still a heel at the time, was terrified of getting in the ring with this guy because he was going to tap out. And the story they tried to tell, it worked. I mean, the fans were reacting. They gave O'Reilly the win right in blood and guts. But Kyle got hurt. And so he went away. And then he came back and the whole landscape was different because now I don't know what the fuck the Death Riders are supposed to be. But Moxley is more of a babyface now than a heel. And all of this time went by and it just didn't have the same, you know, feeling that it would have had when they were doing this in the fall last year. It's tough when you let so much time go by. I thought he did about as good a job as you could ask for to try to kind of bring people back into it if they weren't into it. There's not much more that he could do or say outside of what he talked about here in this promo. You're either sold on this match or you're not. I'm sold on them doing it. I'm not sold on it as like a Forbidden Door title match. You know, I'd like to see something different. I can't imagine after this, I can't imagine them not doing this on the pay-per-view. Maybe they don't. Maybe they set it up for a big episode of Dynamite. It just feels to me like this is going to end up being that Forbidden Door match, though. But this was great. This was great stuff. And then, bitches, Tekla was here. Silencio. Tekla is speaking. She was in the crowd, and she had her fellow Sisters of Sin with her. She says she has something very important to say. She said that if anybody from Stardom ever came to AEW, she would wipe them off the face of the earth. She was known as the Idol Killer when she was in Japan, and yes, she was fired from Japan, but this is her house. She talked about Sky Blue is going to go on to win the Owen Hart tournament. Sure thing. Sky Blue is going to win the Owen. Julia Hart is going to win her TBS title back. Oh, that's what I wanted to mention. Let me pause there. Forgot to mention this earlier. So they have announced what they're going to do to crown a new TBS champion. We are not going to get a new TBS champion for another month. July 1st, on the July 1st episode of Dynamite, they're going to have for the first time ever in AEW, a survival of the fittest match. Now, they've done these in Ring of Honor. Oh, my God. They've done these in Ring of Honor going back many, many years. I mean, they've done them in ROH going back to 2004. And they actually just did one last month at Supercard of Honor. Athena beat 5 other women to retain her championship because nobody could beat this woman except Mercedes. So now they're doing it in AEW. And they're going to have a series of qualifying matches over these next several weeks on TV. And then they'll have what will be an elimination match. So I think there's going to be 6 women, I believe, 5 or 6. And it'll be an elimination-style tornado match, basically, to crown a new champion. I don't hate it because what was the alternative in this situation? A one-night battle royal? It's fucking lame. You're going to do a tournament? You have 2 tournaments going on right now. You can't have a third one. It's, at least in AEW, it's something we haven't seen before, right? We've seen it in ROH. We haven't seen it in AEW. The downside is we have another month with no champion. But it does give these matches that we'll see on TV now some value that they wouldn't otherwise have. Instead of just being a bunch of random matches, they actually have meaning and value, and the winners will move on to this match on July 1st. And then we'll find out who the new TBS champion is. Now, without knowing who's in the match, I can't say who that person is going to be. You know, they have different options for who they can. It ain't going to be Julia Hart. But that's how they're going to crown a new TBS champion. But anyway, Tekla said that she's not declaring war on Stardom. She's declaring death to Stardom. And if that message wasn't clear enough, now by the time as she's cutting this promo, they've exited the crowd. She was kind of backing up down the aisleway, looking into the camera. The cameraman was following her. On the stage, just below the screens, there's a ladder set up. And so Tekla begins to climb the ladder. And on the screen, they have the Forbidden Door graphic, which has the AEW logo and the New Japan logo and the CMLL logo and the Stardom logo. And she spits on the screen where the Stardom logo is. And then on commentary, Excalibur apologizes to their wonderful partners in Stardom. I just want to take a moment here to apologize to the fine people in the Stardom promotion. So I guess she's wrestling somebody from Stardom at Forbidden Door. Don't know who, but at least now we know what she's going to be doing. I knew there would be at least one person in the chat. When she spit on the screen, I said there's some freaky deek people out there watching this show who would probably pay good money for her to do that to them. And then we see Pseudo in the chat. It should have been me. There's always one. There's always one. We had Andrade. Actually, before we even get to that, we go backstage. The Death Riders are with Will Ospreay. And John Moxley says, look, I know Mark Davis is still renting space in your head. You guys used to be very tight. But he isn't a Tokyo monster. He's a man with 2 arms and 2 legs. Don Callis will have to hire a truck driver to take you out if he wants to win. Moxley says he's tired of all these groups around here. Yeah, tell me about it. And he wants Ospreay to focus on Davis, and he'll take care of the rest. Then we had Andrade El Idolo taking on DK Vandu. Is that how it's pronounced? DK Vandu, I believe, is the person's name. He wasn't in there for very long. Mr. Vandu over here ate a spinning back elbow and then a DM, and Andrade won in about 30 seconds. So, thank you, DK. After the match, Andrade got on the mic and he said since MJF has the world title, he wants the world title. And he knows that MJF has beaten Roosh, but does MJF really think he can beat a real Latino man? How you know? That's his catchphrase now. How you know? Don Callis walked out. And he had Jake Doyle with him. Jake Doyle had been out for many months with a torn, was it a bicep? It was a torn bicep. I don't know if it was a bicep or a tricep. I'm pretty sure it was a bicep. And so he returned last week, and it was very unceremonious and very random. He just sort of showed up. It's like, oh, Jake Doyle is back. Okay. So now he comes out to the ring with Don Callis. And he tells Andrade, you know, great job, great job. But he's got something to say. He's very excited. Callis has some sort of announcement here to make. And he introduces the newest member of the Don Callis family. Now, at first I was like, he's got Doyle out there with him. I'm like, well, Doyle's already in the family. What is this new member nonsense? No, he has a brand new member of the Don Callis family, the Jet, Kevin Knight, who's already the TNT champion. He's already having great success, but now he has joined the Don Callis family, I guess, because he wants it all. He wants to be the world champion, and Callis is the guy who can help take him to the promised land. Fucking Kevin Knight is now a part of the ever-expanding, grossly overweight, morbidly obese Don Callis family. The best part of this entire thing here was he said this so excitedly that his teeth fell out of his fucking mouth as he was announcing Kevin Knight's name and fell on the mat. Now, this is not the first time that this has happened. Now, it looks to me like it's a bridge. It looks like it's a piece that has like multiple teeth on it. And it just, now, when this happened the first time, I'm pretty sure when this happened the first time, Hangman Page was in the ring. And I think Callis was on the stage or the aisleway. So he was addressing Hangman. And at first I thought like his gum, like he spit gum out by accident, like his gum that he was chewing had fallen out of his mouth. And then I go on social media that night and everyone's like, LOL, like his fucking teeth fell out. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I went back and I looked at him like, holy shit, yeah, his teeth fell out. Like, that's pretty embarrassing. So this is the second time now that this has happened. This guy has to fucking super glue that shit in there. Apparently that's going to be the only way this stuff's going to stay in his mouth. I'm like, how many more times is this going to happen? Yeah, Excalibur corpse. I'm sure he wasn't the only one. It sounded like all the announcers were trying not to draw attention to it, but they wanted to just bust out laughing. I don't know, man. He needs to use some Gorilla Glue because whatever he's using now, it ain't working. But Kevin Knight comes out and he hugs Callis. Andrade looks very annoyed at all of this. Andrade's got one foot out the door. I think we've seen this for a while. He'll be the next guy. After Takeshita, he'll be the next guy out of the Callis family and going babyface. Especially when and if he actually does wrestle MJF. Here's my thoughts on Kevin Knight joining the Don Callis family. On the one hand, when you really think about it, the Callis crew gets more television time than anybody else on these shows. Dynamite, Collision, because there's so many of them. Like, legitimately, he has at least 15 members in this family. Or somewhere in that range, has to be. So Callis is all over these shows, and Callis is a great heel manager, right? I take nothing away from him. Don Callis, I mean, we talk about Paul Heyman doing his thing in WWE. Callis is a better manager than Paul Heyman at the moment, at this point in time. Not saying all time, I'm just saying right now. It's the closest thing that we have to a faction the size of what the Heenan family used to be, but even the Heenan family, I mean, my God, they weren't adding new members at the rate that the fucking Callis family is. But the first point I wanted to make is that they get so much television time. They're all over these shows. And you look at someone like Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher has benefited from being part of the Callis vortex, if you will. And so you can't deny that, right? I look at Kevin Knight the same way in 2026 that I did Kyle Fletcher in 2025. And I think this is going to be his year. It already is. It already is his year, and we're not even at the halfway point yet. So him joining the Callis family isn't going to hurt Kevin Knight. It's not. Because Kevin Knight is going to be one of the more featured members of the family that we see on TV. You've got Okada, and you've got Fletcher, and now you can put Kevin Knight right in that same class. And then all of these other guys, Andrade and Mark Davis and Brian Cage and Lance Archer and Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero, and who am I missing? I know I'm missing others, Jake Doyle. All of them are going to be below Kevin Knight and Okada and Fletcher. Now that Takeshita's gone, we can't, include him in there anymore. So I think Kevin Knight's going to be fine. I don't see this impacting him in a negative way. Oh my God, he's going to get overwhelmed by all the other members in the group and he's going to be overshadowed. He's not. Now, if you're one of those other people I just mentioned, those guys are going to take a back seat now and take a step down. And so maybe they're not so happy, that Kevin Knight is the shiny new toy in the Don Callis family. And maybe some of them get a little less love than they were getting on TV before. On the other hand, though, you cannot ignore how comically absurd it is that Tony Khan just keeps tossing people into this fucking group. I mean, it's like a rite of passage. If you're a heel, you have to join the Don Callis, or at least pass through the Don Callis family. At some point, you say enough is enough. I mentioned Heyman, right? I mentioned Heyman before. We still have Paul Heyman guys here in 2026. Paul Heyman right now is with The Vision. The Vision sucks, but those are his guys, right? And he still has Brock. This would be the equivalent of Paul Heyman adding a new heel into his group literally every 2 or 3 weeks. Now, they don't have nearly as many people running around on their television shows as AEW does. AEW has so many people, they don't even know what to do with all of them. I think the Callis family alone has a bigger roster than all of Monday Night Raw. But if that was happening with Heyman again, it would be ridiculous there too, because you just keep adding and adding and adding. And it's like, what's the point of this? You're watering down the entire group by doing that. And that's the problem you run into with a group like this. You can't even keep track of who's part of it. I guess that's kind of similar to Bullet Club in a way, where they just kept adding members to Bullet Club or the NWO back in the day. But it's comically absurd. It's like they have some sort of addiction and they need help. They need treatment. It's out of control. Stop adding members. Focus on the ones that you have, please. But when I mentioned Fletcher and Okada or even Takeshita when he was part of the group, that's why I say, I'm not worried about Kevin Knight just because he joined the Callis family, because he'll be fine. Just like those guys were fine. And those guys benefited from being a part of it. He will too. So I'm not worried about that. I had one person during the show was like, oh, why not the Hurt Syndicate? Well, that really wouldn't make a lot of sense. The Hurt Syndicate are babyfaces now. So he can't join the Hurt Syndicate because he's a fucking heel. If they wanted him to join a group, this is the one to join. He didn't need it, is what I'm saying. It's not something that was needed, but this is what they chose to do. Now, Kevin Knight was in action defending his TNT championship against Speedball, Mike Bailey. Doyle gets pissed at Davis. Are they teaming Brian Cage and Jake Doyle now? I saw something about that. Are they now tag team partners? I guess Davis and Doyle is dead. Davis is the national champion. He's having success as a single, so he doesn't need Doyle. But I thought I saw something where Brian Cage was now teaming with Doyle. Cage and Doyle doesn't really have the same ring to it. Like Davis and Doyle had a ring to it. Cage and Doyle, not so much. They teamed on Collision already? Yeah. All right. Well, maybe that'll be a new team. Knight connected with a huge springboard lariat from the ring out to the floor, right as Justin Roberts interrupted the crowd pop with a 10-minute time call. I'm not blaming him. Obviously, Tony Khan or somebody is in his ear telling him, okay, 10 minutes, announce 10 minutes, and so he announces it. Can we at least wait a few more seconds instead of killing the fucking crowd pop by making these announcements? Like, the crowd reacted. In the middle of their reaction, Justin comes on the mic, and so everybody quiets down to listen to what he's going to say. Can we just give it a few more seconds before we interrupt it? Later on, Bayley wanted a flamingo driver. Jake Doyle, he distracted Rick Knox, which is not hard to do, but he distracted him long enough for Don Callis to sweep Bayley's legs. He got crotched. And then we got a scary spot off the top rope here. And I have no idea what they were trying to do. I'm going to have to go back and watch this part again. It ended horribly with Bayley being bent in half on a back bump down to the mat. Like a spine buster. And I don't know if maybe that was the intent, but it just came off very rough on the landing. I mean, at least he didn't land on his head. And then Knight followed quickly with a Uranagi for the win, which I will say, kind of anticlimactic. Unless he's just, he's like, hey, work for The Rock. So I guess it'll work for me too. But he beat him with a rock bottom. I guess I'm so desensitized to what we see as a finish in so many of these AEW matches, even Kevin Knight matches, like the UFO splash is a spectacular finish. I don't know if they're going to kind of tone that down because it's more of a babyface move. And this is them moving away from that to give him something different, which is not like a terrible idea. But when I saw him beat Bayley with that, I'm like, it's kind of anticlimactic. Up until that point, though, they were having a very good match. And after the match, Knight took the mic. He said all he had to do was get rid of the dead weight and link up with Dom Perignon. I see what you did there. Some Dom Perignon. In his quest to become Jet 2 belts. And so he called out MJF. And he told him, I'm waiting on you. Get in line. So is everybody else, apparently. What happens when you're the champion? Everybody wants the belt. What is the Be the Booker goal? There it is right there. 350. Have we hit the goal? I haven't even checked. Have we hit the target? Oh my goodness. See, I told you it was easily attainable. 350 is a breeze. We should be able to break 400. So there you go. So you're going to get at least the one round. Congrats. Backstage, Renee was interviewing the Dogs, David Finlay and Clark Connors, who gloated about taking out Adam Copeland and Christian Cage last week. They had kazoos, and they did their own 5-second pose. The Young Bucks showed up, and apparently the Young Bucks were streaming earlier today, right before Dynamite. I guess from backstage at Dynamite, they were streaming on YouTube. They haven't streamed on YouTube in years. I don't know if they started streaming for any particular reason, but evidently people started donating a lot. It turned into this big donation drive for, ALS and Rebel and everything. So that's what they were doing before the show. So they interrupt the segment here. And Nick Jackson goes, who let the dogs out? Nick Jackson doing his best Sidro impersonation. Matt said the Dogs were new guys trying to make an impression. They probably thought that they were next in line for the tag team titles, but he didn't see them going to Bullet Club's worst ever leader and his partner, Timu Hangman. Matt said that he and Nick consider themselves the number one contenders because they just beat these guys at Stadium Stampede. But if you want to, we're willing to grab our gear and we can settle this tonight. And Finlay said the number one contenders, they will wrestle when they feel like it. Yeah, the shirts they were wearing were not great. I forgot what they said. They were sporting these new T-shirts, the Dogs were. I don't suspect they're going to be selling very well. Renee was talking to MJF, who was in an ice bath in the back. And she brought up all this, all the hoopla around these recent opponents that have stepped forward to challenge him for his championship. And he said, no match for Mark Briscoe because My world title is for winners and top guys like me. Briscoe is not. So for the last and final time, Mark Briscoe, stop asking because it is not happening. See, so we got a few weeks before no becomes yes. That probably will be the Forbidden Door match. I don't know. I mean, the last match they had was tables and tacks. So where do you go from there? Do you go from tables and tacks to just a straight wrestling match? This feels like a grudge match. You know what I mean? Like this should be the big blow off to their feud. So it almost has to have some sort of stipulation, you would think. We've already seen MJF this year in Texas Death. What else can they do? Like a cage match? I mean, how do you not have some sort of stipulation after you're coming off a tables and tacks match last year? We had Alex Windsor up next. She was facing a wild card in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Willow Nightingale out, the mystery woman in, and it was indeed the return of the CEO. Mercedes Mone is back. This was her first match all year in AEW. Well, I guess we know who's winning this thing now, don't we? Seems pretty clear. She came out and she had pyro, and it sounded to me like she had new music. And look, people can shit on this or shit on her all they want. Don't get excited, Vince. People can shit on her all they want to. The reality is that's a big name for them to get back in the division. And Mercedes goes out there and she has very good matches. And so this will be no different. Tonight was no different. These two went out there and had a good match. And I'm sure in the next round, it will be no different. And in the finals, if we get the final I think we're going to get, which is Mercedes and Athena, that's going to be an excellent match. This is what she does. She goes out there and she has great matches. If she goes on to Wembley and wrestles Tekla, that will be a great match. That will be a first time ever match that we have not seen before. Now, I can't say she was acting too differently here, because she would always come out and, kind of gloat and just act very heelish. She was kind of acting the way that she would normally act. She wasn't behaving any differently. She got more of a babyface response. People weren't booing her or anything like that. Coming out, I thought she got a decent response. It wasn't anything, blow away. When they initially hit the music and they put Mercedes Mone on the screens, she kind of got a pop. And then after that, it was like, it was okay. But yeah, as far as how she was behaving or like acting during the match, no different than usual. So there is history, I should say, between these two women. This was their, I want to say, third match. Mercedes beat her in their first meeting. Their last meeting was on Collision last year. And that was the match where Windsor beat her to win the Rev Pro British Women's Championship. So the last time they met, Mercedes lost to this woman. So she was not losing to this woman here in this match. There was a Three Amigos spot from Mercedes. She had done it successfully the first time. Second time around, though, Windsor spun out into a Made in Japan for a near fall. And Mercedes, she tucked her head. Like with the Made in Japan, you kind of go up, and then on the way down, you tuck your head and you get dropped. She went up, and then she basically did the move herself before Alex did anything. So she tucked her head and she went down, and then Windsor followed. There was like a second delay. So that didn't look too great. But we got a running sunset bomb into the corner from Mercedes. She missed the Meteora, though. Both women traded pin attempts. Mone hit a backstabber. She got a statement maker applied, and Windsor tapped out to give Mercedes the win in what I thought was a good match. It was a good match here between these two. After the match, she celebrated with, I don't know if there's more than one, and she still has hers, or if they kind of take the same one, and that's the one that was sitting on the little pedestal there. But they have the Owen Hart, the pink Owen Hart belt sitting there. And she took it. I think she took the one that was sitting there. And she was posing with it, and she took it with her. So, I mean, technically, she is still currently the women's Owen Hart champion from last year. She's the defending champion, except you don't defend it. So that's not the right word. She's the reigning Owen Hart Foundation champion. So anyway, she danced all the way to the back with the belt. And she's looking to be the first woman to go back-to-back. She won it last year. Nobody else has gone back-to-back yet. She's looking to become the first this year. Seems pretty clear to me that she's probably going to be the first person to do so. Because I was thinking Persephone, and then as soon as Mercedes came out, all that went out the window. She would be facing Persephone in the next round if Persephone can beat Hazuki this weekend. And I fully expect that that's going to be the match. Mercedes and Persephone. And Mercedes is going to win. And Mercedes is going to go to the finals. I mean, there's no way she doesn't at least go to the finals, right? They're going to want her in that match at Forbidden Door. They have a pay-per-view to promote. So if you got Mercedes in this tournament, Mercedes is going to Forbidden Door. She's probably going to Wembley Stadium as well. And so, yes, it seems very obvious now who the winners of these tournaments are going to be. But I think those are the correct winners. Like Will Ospreay is absolutely the correct winner on the men's side. And on the women's side here, it should be Mercedes. Sorry if you disagree or if you're not a Mercedes fan, but just, you got to be honest about it. When you look at who's left in this tournament and you're looking for the biggest possible match that you could do on that Forbidden Door show, if we assume, not Forbidden Door, but on the Wembley card in August, if we assume that Tekla is going into Wembley as the champion, Tekla and Mercedes is a match that has not been done. And if the story is that Mercedes lost all of her belts and it kind of humbled her, right? She got a taste of humble pie. And now she's trying to win the championship that she's tried unsuccessfully twice now to win. And she has not been able to do it. But she hit rock bottom. She lost all of her belts. Now she's trying to work her way back up. She's got to win this tournament. That's the story. Athena against Tekla would be a fun match, but it doesn't make any sense because it's heel on heel. They're not going to want to do that at Wembley. So the other options here are not nearly as attractive. Like if you're a promoter, if you're Tony Khan, you're looking at this, why would you do it any other way other than sending Mercedes to the finals? It wouldn't even make any sense. And then from the finals, she wins and she goes on to London. That's the way it's going to play out. I don't have an issue with that. But as soon as she danced on out, that was it. The tournament was over. But I am looking forward to Mercedes and Athena, though. That better be the final. I enjoyed their first match on Dynamite. The chance to send them out there on a pay-per-view and give them more time, they're going to get time. Mercedes is the first woman in the history of this company who got 20 plus minutes for a pay-per-view match. Send Athena and Mercedes out there for 20 to 25 minutes. Sounds good to me. Jasta is convinced that Athena is winning the Owen. Why? Because Mercedes beat her the first time? I don't know. I mean, look, hey, if they want to send Athena, I'm not gonna hate on it, but I don't see it. I don't see it. Renee spoke with Don Callis and Kazuchika Okada. Case in point, this fucking guy's everywhere. He's all over these shows. This is my point. If you're in the Callis family, you can bet on one thing, if nothing else. Well, two things. Number one, you're not going to have to worry about not getting TV time. Okay. We saw them here. We saw them again in the main event. That's number one. Number two, you can bet that you don't want to be standing within 5 feet of Don Callis or you may get hit in the face by his teeth. Those are the two things now that we know. But she spoke with Don Callis and Okada. And Callis put over Kevin Knight joining the family, and he predicted Mark Davis would beat Will Ospreay in the main event. He said Okada was screwed and they won't stand for it. And Okada said that Konosuke Takeshita is nothing without the family. He said Takeshita won't have the international championship in a backpack for very long. Then we showed some highlights here from last Wednesday. After Chris Jericho beat Ricochet, he was attacked by Tommaso Ciampa. And then on Collision, Ciampa pulled a page out of the Jericho playbook from many years ago, and he read from his list of 1,004 reasons why he hates Jericho. So now we're live in the back, and Ciampa wonders where Jericho could be. Maybe he's afraid to come back because Ciampa will beat his ass again. Ciampa has marked his territory, and he advises that Jericho stay away. And if he does return, Ciampa might just strike first. You stupid idiot. Boy, he's just pulling out all the old Jericho gimmicks here. Surprised he didn't have the list in his hand. Elsewhere on this show here, it was time for the main event. And it was Will Ospreay going one-on-one with his former friend, Mark Davis, in a semifinal match in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Ospreay beat Samoa Joe. Mark Davis beat Jack Perry last week in the main event. That is how we ended up here. Davis beat Ospreay back in April on this show by ref stoppage. So for that reason alone, I mean, you had to know there was only one way this match could possibly go. But this was also the second straight Dynamite with a Mark Davis main event. Like I said before, I'm here for it. Mark Davis he's taking full advantage of the opportunity that's been given to him. It actually looks like he slimmed down a little bit too. Still a big guy, but you know, he's taking advantage and making the most of the time that he is given. He's been getting a lot of time lately. And he doesn't win all the time. He's winning more now than he was previously. But he's just making the most of his, as they say, he's maximizing his minutes. And I've been very much enjoying the matches that he's been a part of. Now, late in this match, Davis set up for a pile driver on the apron. Ospreay countered with a Hurricane Rana that sent both men to the floor. Back inside, Ospreay got a Styles Clash only for a near fall. Davis avoided an Os Cutter, and then he threw a kick that Ospreay avoided, but it took out the referee. Down goes Paul Turner, so we got the ref bump. Ospreay hit the Os Cutter. He got a visual pin. There's no referee. And this is where all of the overbooking I mentioned earlier came into play. Because we had a really good wrestling match up until this point. And then chaos broke loose. Trent Beretta and El Clone, they run to the ring. They attack Ospreay. Here comes Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta of the Death Riders to back Ospreay up. They cleared the heels from the ring. Lance Archer shows up, and he took out Wheeler Yuta and Will Ospreay. Claudio runs in. He hits a springboard uppercut to take out Archer. Brian Cage gets in the ring. He takes out Claudio with an F5. Pac gets in the ring. He takes out Brian Cage. Ospreay then puts Davis down again. He covers him, and Pac throws the referee back inside. And before the referee could even count three, Jake Doyle is here. And Doyle pulls the referee back out to the floor. So he gets in the ring. Marina Shafir now jumps on Doyle's back. She's going to try to stop him. And Doyle just kind of flings her over his head, and she crashes to the mat. Jon Moxley comes out from behind, and he puts Doyle down with a paradigm shift. He pops right back up, though, selling it like he's all wobbly. And he's backed up against the ropes so that Moxley and Marina Shafir could do a double clothesline. And all three of them end up going ass over tea kettle over the top rope and out to the floor. Now Kyle Fletcher shows up, and he gets in on the party. And he puts Ospreay down with a half and half. And then he pulls out the dreaded screwdriver. The dreaded neon screwdriver. But Konosuke Takeshita, he arrives. He pulls him to the floor. And so they're going at it. Davis picks up the screwdriver. He's going to use it. Ospreay, and by the way, in all of this, I think it was Pac. Was it Pac? It was Pac, I'm pretty sure, who did a big moonsault off the top rope onto the pile outside, took everybody out. There was all kinds of chaos going on here. And so in the ring, Davis has the screwdriver. So he's going to use it. But before he can, Ospreay hits him with a hidden blade to the arm to knock the screwdriver out of his hand. And then he hits a proper hidden blade and he covers him, but there's no referee. A second referee runs in. I want to say it was Bryce. He counts. Davis kicks out. Now I'm laughing. Now I'm watching this and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So he kicks out. Davis, he ducked a hidden blade to the back of the head by just ducking out of the way. He put Ospreay down with this great stuff pile driver. I mean, it looked fantastic. To the point where I was upset because it really should have ended the match. But you'd have to be an idiot to think that Mark Davis was going to win this match. Like, you knew he wasn't winning. I almost wish he didn't hit the move because I just hate the fact that Ospreay kicked out of this. This was like a couple of kickouts too much here. But the perfect pile driver to a guy with a bad neck who's been doing almost nothing but selling his neck now for weeks, and he fucking kicks out. He kicks out of the pile driver. Davis ran the ropes. He was going to go for a lariat. Ospreay, he transitioned, though, into this new death ground armbar finish that he's been using. And he got the quick submission for the win at the 23-minute mark. Holy shit. What a match that this turned into here. They were having a great wrestling match before all of the interference. And then all of the interference came, and it's back and forth. Callis family, Death Riders, Callis family. And they're just fighting each other off. Everybody gets wiped out outside. And again, all the near falls and the big moves, and you think it's over, and then they kick out, and the people losing their minds over this. And so it worked. You know what they did? They were trying to get the crowd all amped up and all fired up. They were into it. It worked. And Ospreay got the win, and everybody celebrated. Everybody was so happy that Ospreay is moving on now to the finals of this tournament. So was it overbooked? You bet your ass it was overbooked. But I loved it. I thought that this match was great. It was a lot of fun. As long as they don't make a habit out of doing this sort of thing, there are just some situations where you'll do this sometimes and it works. I think one of the reasons why it worked here, for me anyway, we don't see this kind of finish in AEW all the time. Like the severe overbooking like they did tonight. We don't see this all the time here. Does the Callis family get involved in every fucking match? Pretty much, yeah. But like what we saw here was something very different than what we're accustomed to seeing. You know, many times we'll have a clean match. There'll be a bunch of near falls and a bunch of kickouts, but we don't have 15 people and 2 ref bumps and, you know, like all of this shit going on. You got to just save it for the right situation. And I thought here it worked, and it ended up being a lot of fun. We also got a 15-minute overrun, by the way. I don't know if we needed an extra 15 minutes for this, but They gave them a lot of time. Again, the match went 23 minutes. Now, as far as the Owen tournament is concerned, it's going to be Ospreay and Swerve. We're going to get Swerve and Brody King next week. Swerve's going to win. And so we're going to get the rematch. You know, only this time the roles are a little bit different than they were previously, because this time, instead of having 2 baby faces, we have a baby face and we have a heel. And Ospreay is going to get his win back from 2 years ago. And it's going to be a hell of a fucking match. I mean, think about the potential finals that have now been set up for these 2 tournaments at Forbidden Door. Ospreay and Swerve, Mercedes and Athena. Just those 2 matches alone. Very strong. And that's not counting whoever MJF defends against, probably Mark Briscoe. I don't know if Kenny Omega is going to have a match on the show. I don't know if they're going to have Fletcher and Takeshita on that show for the international title. But obviously that's where we're headed there. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great matches that they could have on that card. But those 2 finals that I think we're shaping up to see, very, very strong. Which is what I thought the show tonight was. I had a lot of fun watching this show. Just had a certain energy and a certain vibe to it. You know, in the building, we got a lot of great wrestling. Crazy ending there. Mercedes, she's finally back after all these months of, you know, being on the sidelines. It just felt like there was a lot going on here. And that Mark Briscoe promo. Very, very strong promo. So I give the show tonight 2 thumbs up. I thought it was a very strong show. Take a look at your super chats. And then we got ourselves a round of Be the Booker to do. Because we blew past the likes goal tonight. I always like to see here on a Wednesday. Hey, Cheza. Good morning, Cheza. Ended like the SmackDown before Survivor Series during the invasion. Yes, that was... Oh, Although there were far more people running in here than even there. Actually, that's the ending I'm thinking about. That's still to this day the greatest ending I think in SmackDown history. Right, with Austin, Rock, Taker, Kane, Kurt, Jericho. Big Show, I think, right? Everybody running in. Shane. Hey, Joseph Stewart. Happy Wednesday, brother. He's going to Masters of the Universe tomorrow. He's very excited. Well, have fun. I got my tickets for Friday. So, on that note, I'm actually glad you brought that up. Originally, what I was going to do was for SmackDown, which is in Italy, I was going to do what I did for Raw this week, which is go live around 8. We're going to push that back on Friday. I don't know that I'm going to go live at 11:30. Probably, though, somewhere in that 10 or 11 range. And we'll just play it by ear. I'll keep you guys posted. I was hoping to see Masters of the Universe tomorrow, but since I can't drive, I'm not allowed to drive after the procedure. So I'm going to go on Friday. I got my tickets for Friday afternoon. So I'll be watching that, and then I can catch up with SmackDown later, and then we'll go live. And I think it's going to work out better because it's game 2. Knicks and Spurs game 2 is on Friday. And I really would rather not compete, at least with the beginning of the game. If I go live closer to like 10:30, I mean, the game probably won't be over, but I'd rather not compete directly with the game when it starts. So I think it'll all work out for the better this way. But anyway, enjoy the movie. Enjoy the movie. And from what I understand, make sure you stay for the credits, is what I've been told. Don't leave until the credits are done. Just FYI. He says, I'm watching the Dolph Lundgren Masters of the Universe movie right now to prepare for the new one. See, I don't know if I want to do that. Then I just feel like I'm going to be comparing the two. Do you think The Rock is the greatest wrestler to ever sing? To ever sing? No. Says, I'll be going to see Batman Forever in theaters this month for the anniversary of the movie. I didn't even realize it was the anniversary. And I don't have a favorite Chris O'Donnell scene either. Or Nicole Kidman. I just like the fact that she was in the movie because I had a thing for Nicole Kidman back then. She was quite the looker. Did I play the Batman Forever arcade video game? It's very good. You could play. I never played. No, that one I don't think I ever did. I don't remember ever playing that one. Buy or sell Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent or Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. Tommy Lee Jones. Can't vote against my guy Tommy. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. Which wrestler do you think could play Harvey Dent and Two-Face? Which wrestler? I wouldn't have any wrestler playing Harvey Dent or Two-Face. I'd get a real good actor to play him. No current wrestlers that I could think of. But the best wrestler turned actor is Batista. So maybe Dave Batista could kind of slide right in there. I don't think that's the right role for him, though. He's probably more of a Bane guy. Although he's lost a lot of mass. He is smaller now than he used to be. Have you seen the trailer to the Wolverine video game? I have not. The Spider Noir show is really good with Nicolas Cage. Interesting. Are you a fan of the Pulp Fiction soundtrack? I believe I listened to it. I don't know that I'm not really a fan of it, but I'm pretty sure I had listened to it. many years ago. Do you know the song from U2, Hold Me, Kiss Me, Thrill Me? It is on the Batman Forever soundtrack. It's in the closing credits of Batman Forever. No, when I think of U2, I think of Triple H's return in 2002, and I think of Beautiful Day. It's the first thing that always pops into my head. Was I a fan of Drew Barry? No, not really. Not in that role. Dominic Mysterio for Money in the Bank 2026. No. No. Did you know that Michael Keaton was going to return as Beetlejuice in the early 1990s in the original Beetlejuice sequel called Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii? I thought it was called the Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. That's a real thing, by the way. They were going to make it. I think there was a script. And I think the studio ended up passing on it because they felt like some of the characters were like aged out. It was some rationale like that. It just sounds like a terrible idea, though. Like Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii or something. Like, it just doesn't sound good. What are your favorite songs from the Pulp Fiction soundtrack? Honestly, the only one I even remember from that soundtrack was Jungle Boogie by Kool and the Gang. Still remember that. Favorite pizza restaurant? I don't eat pizza anymore, but I used to be a big fan of Pizza Hut. They had those little personal pan pizzas. I've never eaten Domino's, so I can't speak to Domino's. Is your favorite store to buy? What is your favorite store to buy movies, music, and books? It's called Amazon. Movies and music, it used to be a place called FYE. I don't even know if it exists anymore. Now it's called Amazon, and I don't even have to leave my house. My cousin told me he saw Jack Perry, Anna Jay, and Luchasaurus last week and saw the Jurassic Express bus as well. Yeah, I told that story about somebody, and they actually posted a photo. They were driving on the highway. It was in New York. It was like around Double or Nothing week. And there's that fucking Jurassic Express bus on the expressway or something. Anyway, thank you, Joseph. Olivia says MJF against Omega against Ospreay at All In. Is there a chance? Yeah. Yeah, there's a chance. I still think it'll be one-on-one. Either MJF and Ospreay or Omega and Ospreay, but there's a chance, sure. We got Death Scythe says favorite horror movie weapon. It can be as simple as a butcher knife or something as creative as a power drill or even the environments themselves. There are no wrong answers. Well, I mean, if we're talking about environments, then we have to go with Jason X. The liquid nitrogen kill in Jason X is my all-time favorite. We're going with like a real horror movie weapon. And I was never really a big Nightmare on Elm Street guy like I was Friday the 13th or Halloween. But we got to go Freddy's glove. How do you not go Freddy's glove with the knives? Roadrunner says, I think we get MJF and Hangman at All In. Without there being any title at stake, and you do Omega and Ospreay, I could see that. I don't know what Moxley does. You know they're going to have him in a big match. I don't know. If not him and Kenny, then I don't know. I don't know what he does. Dry Chicken says Leo Rush and Indy Navarrete should do a collaboration together. Both of them make this guy laugh when they say no. Indy Navarrete is fantastic. She's great. She's very cool. Deathside says, also, are you going to see Evil Dead Burn when it comes out on July 10th? Because I just saw the one-shot scene teaser trailer and it looks really good. I have not seen that trailer and I don't have any plans to see it. So probably not. I never saw the Evil Dead series. Should I? I know who Ash is. I just never got into it. Ishmael says, I don't not want to see MJF against Briscoe at Forbidden Door. So far, it's a lack. I don't not want to. I think you mean I do not want to. That's a double negative there. That means you do want to see it. Changes the whole meaning of the super chat. So far, it's a lackluster build for the pay-per-view. I'm attending the event and there is barely any build with the outside talents. This is the problem with Forbidden Door every year. There's certain talents who probably can't even show up on Dynamite, right? They can't fly them in for whatever reason. They're going to build matches where people won't even be on the shows to really promote them. Look, I think Forbidden Door is a concept that kind of wore out its welcome a couple of years ago. You'll still have a bunch of great wrestling matches on there, but the whole concept of Forbidden Door is it's very dated. But it still does well for AEW. That's why Tony keeps doing it. And he's got the relationships with these different companies, and so he wants to keep them happy and feature them on the show. And I get it. I get it. But Forbidden Door as a concept is not necessary anymore. You know, the Forbidden Door was opened a long time ago, and the Forbidden Door opens every single week. You got wrestlers now with dual contracts who work for New Japan and AEW, for Stardom and AEW, or maybe not Stardom, but for CMLL and AEW, Persephone being one of them. The Forbidden Door swings open every week. And then when you have the pay-per-view, yes, you end up with several matches that are just sort of slapped together for the sake of doing them. The best you could hope for is that some of the other AEW exclusive matches end up being strong enough to support the entire card. Still a pay-per-view that they expect you to buy. My AEW, that new My AEW service, it's not a bad deal. It's really not, especially if you do buy the pay-per-views every single month. They don't have them every single month, but they're up to like 10, I think. 10 per year. If you go for the annual package there, it probably saves you some money. Mr. Rod says Knicks in 6. That's what I said. We'll see if we're right. They're still undefeated. He's back again. Oh no. Solomonster's lost son. You know, he showed up on TNT last night. Always looking for a handout, this guy. Says, Daddy, the Knicks win. We are going to game 3. No, we're not. I'm not going anywhere with you. And I told you to leave me alone, and I told you to tell your mother to leave me alone. Derek J. speaks. I don't mind if they do MJF and Briscoe at Forbidden Door. The real main event of that show is going to be Ospreay and Swerve anyway, probably even to close with it. Well, that's why I said, like, it's shaping up with the 2 finals for the Owen tournaments. Like, those 2 matches alone are very strong selling points for the pay-per-view. Even though they have nothing to do with the Forbidden Door concept. They have nothing to do with the concept at all. But those are the 2 matches I'm probably going to be looking forward to the most. Venom Kitetsu. Again, read that super chat earlier. All the best to your dad. Thank you, brother. San Juan Wolf with a 1999 Sup Solo. Aside from Fletcher, Takeshita, and Kevin Knight, what other young talents do you see Tony Khan elevating to eventually reach the main event level? P.S. Spurs in 7. Well, that's where we're going to have to disagree. What other young talents do you see TK elevating to eventually reach main event level? It's impossible to know who's going to reach main event level. Fletcher and Knight seem like they're on their way. Takeshita should be on their way. Why not throw him in there? You know, he's the international champion right now, but he could go higher than that. Great talent, super popular. You know, I understand English is not his first language, but that shouldn't stop him from ascending to even higher heights in the company at some point. Dry Chicken says, if I'm Tony Khan while the World Cup is happening, I would invite Shakira, Burna Boy, BTS, and DJ artists to attend Forbidden Door in San Jose. Famous music artists and groups attended CMLL before. Burna Boy? BTS is super popular. I know that. I'm not familiar with Burna Boy. Elegance brand is more watchable than the Judgment Day. And AEW is Japanese American when it comes to factions. They do have a lot of big factions in Japanese wrestling. You know, somebody to keep an eye out for, and I mentioned her name previously because we had her in House of Glory only once or twice. But I remember when I was preparing at the time for some notes for her match, and I was looking up like her indie work and everything, and she was a WWE ID talent for a while, is Zeta Steel. She's very young and still very new to the company. But she is, for someone who is still so new to this and so young, she is super charismatic, super confident, carries herself with confidence, at least publicly. And I think she's someone who, if she continues to learn and improve, like in ring, on the female side, again, it's way too early to say main eventer, but she has the skill set, I think, to get there. She just carries herself like a star. So I might throw Zeta Steel in there as well as somebody to keep an eye out for. Yee says, just dropping in to show some Wednesday love. Thank you, Yee. Bryant Finley with a 5. What about a triple threat match in London with Ospreay, Omega, and MJF? There's a story with all three guys, and it's a match that we haven't seen before. Yeah, I mean, Tony doesn't really like doing three-way matches, though. I feel like in a big Wembley main event, he's going to want it to be one-on-one. That's just how I feel. You could do it. It would be a big match. It just doesn't seem like something that he would normally do. Arabian Night, unlike in WWE, where they use the same 3 or 4 older main eventers in the big programs, AEW is pushing and investing in all their young guys in those spots. They use Y2J, Omega, Hurt Syndicate, Cope and Cage in spurts. Yeah, I mean, there's still some of them that, frankly, I could stand to see less of. Jericho, since he came back, is kind of inoffensive. It's not like he's being shoved down our throats. So, I mean, that's fine. Omega, we barely see. So, I mean, if anything, we don't get enough of Kenny Omega, frankly. Hurt Syndicate, we don't get enough of them either. It would be nice to see them a little more often on Dynamite. But they're definitely investing in some of these talents. Again, Kevin Knight is one that stands out, and Fletcher. And then there are some tag teams. there's certain people that you kind of wish you would see more of, and maybe you're not seeing enough of them, or you see them on Collision, but you don't see them as much on Dynamite. Even Roosh. I mean, seeing Roosh on Dynamite the last few weeks, it's like, why couldn't he be featured on the Wednesday show more frequently? Why is this just a recent phenomenon? Because there's only so much TV time to go around. Venom Kitetsu, Callis Family 2000. 2,000 being the number of members that they will eventually have. Bryant Finley, Mercedes, and Bayley as women's tag team champions in 2027. I'm convinced that Bayley is going to go to AEW at some point. I think she's going to want to. I think she's going to want to work with all the women they have, and not just Mercedes, but she's going to want to work with all these new women. Statlanders and the Haters, Tony Storm. And Bryant says, they should sell a t-shirt saying, I'm a Mark Davis guy. I think it would sell. I don't know how well that would sell. I'm a Mark Davis guy, and I wouldn't wear it. So I'm just being honest. We have K-Rob. K-Rob reacts with a 10. FYE still exists. I bought the Golden Girls Monopoly there in Springfield, Missouri at the Battlefield Mall. There's a mall in Springfield called the Battlefield Mall. That's awesome. I wish we had that. Actually, some of the malls in New York feel like a battlefield when you try to navigate them. Paul Carpenter. I finally got the season 7. I got 2 season 7, right? On The Shield, and that is a great show. Vic Mackey is a beast. Well, I'm glad it took you long enough to come around to this. I've only been singing the praises of The Shield for, I don't know, 10 or 12 years now. It's one of my top 3 all-time favorite shows. It's fucking great. And it was very kind of cutting edge for its time. So it came out, and season 1 did, in 2002. And it was just, even the way it was filmed, very gritty cop drama on FX. About a team of cops out of a fictional police precinct out in California. It's based on or inspired by a true story if you look it up. Crooked cops, basically. Really, really good show. Devin from NJ. Buy or sell, doing TNT with JD or hosting Mob Movie Mondays with Joseph Stewart. Oh, TNT all the way. Well now says, gonna have to watch Dynamite next week to see Suri. Hope she goes far in this year. Could have some fucking sick matches with anybody. I mean, maybe go as far as... Who's she wrestling? Oh, she's wrestling Sky Blue. Well, she's going to at least the semis. I don't see her going beyond that, though. Hopefully she's healed up with her neck. Justin G, just paying my sorry I'm late tax. What's the goal? The goal was already smashed. You don't have to worry about that. The bonus goal is still going in the chat, but the goal was already met. And then we have Alex. Says, is Triple H in danger of dropping the ball with Mariah May? Just one of those rare talents that should immediately be in the main event scene. She doesn't have to immediately be in the main event scene. You cannot say that he's dropped the ball with Mariah May when she literally has not even made a proper debut on TV yet. So let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes and give her some time. She'll be okay. I trust that she'll be okay. She's very talented and she's very sexy. And those are 2 very good qualities to have that I think bode well for her success on the main roster We just have to give it time for her to actually make a proper debut, which she still has not done yet. She's still coming. She has not yet come, but she's coming. She has not arrived yet, officially. She kind of did. She was in a backstage segment for like 15 seconds a couple of weeks ago. I don't really count that as a debut, though. Anyway, thank you. Well, again, the goal, as you can see here from the wheel, was 350. And we are currently sitting at... What are we sitting at? Why can't I see? Here it is. 466. Look at that. Alex says, apparently Chris Van Vliet is going to interview Heidenreich. Yes, that is coming up on June 11th is when the interview is being uploaded. I'm sure they'll talk about that segment with Michael Cole. And, Joseph Stewart is back. Says, I'm back, Solomonster, with breaking news. Carmen Electra is at the new Scary Movie premiere. See, we get the important breaking news here. I don't even know what Carmen Electra has been doing for the last 10 years. Is she still doing movie stuff? Alex says, Julia is very talented, and look what he has done with her. I do not trust him. What? Yeah, but Mariah May speaks English, and Julia does not. Or she actually does, but like it's not her first language, and so it's going to work against her. I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but like that will work against her, and it has worked against her, and it sucks, but that's the way it is. And so Mariah May's already in a much better position just because of that. Like promo-wise, communicating with the audience, it's a lot easier for her than it is for Julia. That's going to work to her advantage in a way that it won't for Julia. That shouldn't be a reason to not push Julia, but I'm just telling you something that you already know. It's going to work against her in a way that it will not work against Blake Monroe. Joseph says, is the Undertaker versus Raven a dream match that you would like to see? Because I would have loved to have seen that match. No. I think 1997, 1998 Raven against Undertaker could have been a fun program. Dream match, no, it's not a dream match for me. All right, let's get ready here because we got one round coming our way on a Wednesday night. Guess what? It is time to celebrate the Knicks' win with Be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be.
I may have to add Jalen Brunson to Be the Booker here. We land on Tyrese Halliburton. That's an automatic end to Be the Booker. And we can put Jalen Brunson in there. Okay. I'm a fan of some old school tag team wrestling. See what we can come up with here. Oh, I don't know. I'm looking at one of the, arguably some people might even say the greatest pro wrestler of all time, but he's certainly in the conversation, in Terry Funk. And to his left, Cactus Jack, the former tag team champions, are kicking us off here and Be the Booker. Cactus Jack now works for Tony Khan. They are going to be taking on William Regal and, as Stone Cold Steve Austin used to call him, Tajiri. Always used to pop me. Tajiri. The Japanese buzzsaw Tajiri. What a terrible t-shirt. Look at that t-shirt Regal's wearing. It's got the brass knucks, Born Naughty. Who would buy that? It's a t-shirt that says Born Naughty, and it's got a fucking picture of brass knuckles on them. And who's going to walk around wearing that? All right, women's Be the Booker. Oh no. It is all red everything. She has arrived. She has made her debut. Well, it's not her debut, but let's pretend that it is. Her debut in Be the Booker. It is Eva Marie. I was giving her the big build up there. All red everything. Eva Marie. Okay, everyone's buzzing in the chat. I haven't even picked the opponent yet. You don't even want to give it a chance. You see? You jumped the gun. Eva Marie against Io Sky. Io Sky can make anything better. If anybody can bring Eva Marie to a respectable match, it is this woman here. And with any hope and any luck, this image right here that you see on your screen is going to be what we see in Minneapolis at SummerSlam this year. And now our main event. Ah, look away. Look away. It is the Painmaker. He has arrived. Chris Jericho, the Painmaker. You know, he saw those images of CM Punk at the gym and he wanted to one-up him. Look at him. Look at this. Look at this sexy beast flexing those muscles. Look at those pecs. The Painmaker. It is the image that causes great pain. It is the Painmaker against Bam Bam Bigelow. Now, if this was almost any other version of Chris Jericho, this would be an automatic bell, but I have to think about this now. I'm going to give it the bell because it is still there's the sweet. It is still Jericho, and Jericho and Bam Bam is a good match. I'm not sure about the Painmaker though. The one that we saw there in that image. Why is Bam Bam still not in the Hall of Fame? It's terrible. Kev says 2 super heavyweights going. Yes, a super heavyweight main event there. Jericho had to bulk up for the match. Now it all makes sense. Well, there you go. You got yourself a clean sweep and Be the Booker. We came close to the bonus skull. We didn't quite hit it. 7 out of 10. We almost got a round 2, but we had a respectable showing tonight. Joseph is not done yet. Joseph says, where did Raven come up with his character and the idea of Raven's flock? I don't know where Raven came up with the idea. I'm sure it was inspired by something. I just don't know. I mean, maybe Kurt Cobain, maybe? I don't know. It's a good question. I don't have a good answer for you. Says, also, which Batman villain do you think Carmen Electra would have been good as? Catwoman, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, or Talia al Ghul? Carmen Electra? I mean, a younger Carmen Electra could have worked, I think, as Poison Ivy. I think the first time I ever saw Carmen Electra is when they added her to that old MTV show Singled Out. I think she replaced Jenny McCarthy, didn't she? Lost Dill says, you've been live earlier than usual, so I haven't been able to catch you, but what the hell is WWE doing with Joe Hendry? It's been a month and a week, and no entrance music, no singles match, nothing. Nothing is what they're doing with him. They don't seem to know what they want to do with him. They've completely dropped the ball so far with Joe Hendry. Like, the entrance is a big part of like his whole act. And the fact that he hasn't had a single proper entrance on the show since debuting is criminal. And it just shows me that they just have no idea on what to do with him at the moment, which begs the question then, I don't know why he was called up in the first place. If you didn't know what the fuck to do with him, and you didn't have a real role for him on the show, then why are you using him as fodder during the commercial breaks to sing some shitty song to Logan Paul, who isn't even on TV anymore because now he's hurt? And so he got killed off by Austin Theory. That was their grand idea on how to introduce Joe Hendry to the main roster. The creative geniuses over there at the old WWE headquarters, ladies and gentlemen. Hard at work. Joseph, I'll get to you in a second. First, we got to go to EJ Slimp. I hate asking this. But if alive today, would TKO have fired Blassie, Monsoon, Fink, and other lifers? I respect Vince honoring that promise. If Vince was there, no. If Vince was not there, yes. Nobody would be safe. But there are certain people like Blassie and Monsoon who I think Vince's father told him to make sure you take care of certain people, and I believe he would have, regardless. TKO doesn't give a shit. They don't care about a single one of those people you just named. Or they wouldn't if they were still there. Try Chicken says, Cactus Jack and Terry Funk against Regal and Tajiri. And the loser has to pay Solomonster's bar tab. I'm telling you, it's a great tag team match, man. It really is. Batman Jurassic, a.k.a. Joseph Stewart. Did you know that there were two ideas to have Billy D. Williams in Batman Returns as Harvey Dent and have him turn into Two-Face, which almost involved Jack Nicholson returning as the Joker? I marvel. I never fail to marvel at your Batman knowledge. I think you should direct your own Batman movie. I think you should try to take a stab at writing a script for a Batman movie. Because it would be like a passion project. It just would, the attention to detail would be second to none. You have a knowledge and just a depth of knowledge of these characters that even I don't have. Christian Bale was in talks to play Robin as well. I cannot imagine that. Christian Bale's like the alpha male. Like he ain't playing second fiddle to Batman in the movie. He's either Batman or he's the main villain or he ain't in the movie. Moore says, thought tonight's Dynamite was incredible. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. Some great wrestling, and there was a lot going on. And also, Joseph says, have a good night, Solomonster. Thank you for everything, and have a blessed day today. Joseph, same to you. Right back at you, my friend. Right back at you. Crazy Fist. Why would I not be live? He says, you're still live. I go, are you asking me if I'm alive or am I live? I'm typically live on Wednesdays. I know sometimes we wrap up after an hour and we're approaching 2 hours here. That's what happens when you have a good Dynamite show to really kind of sink your teeth into, and then you get a lot of questions and a lot of support. This is how it should always be. EJ says, I'm so glad Fink never went to WCW like Mean Gene and Heenan. It just would have felt wrong. I'm glad he didn't also, just because he was still the primary voice through the end of the 90s and into the beginning of the 2000s. Lillian came in towards the end of 99. She wasn't the primary voice though right away. So I'm glad that, we had him for the entire time, but if the timeline would have worked out a little bit differently and Vince started to phase him down the way that he did, then I would have loved to have seen him do ring announcing somewhere else. Because, as long as he was in that spot he was never like fully valued and truly valued and respected. You look at the way that he was treated there towards the end. I don't mean like the very end when he was having health issues. Clearly he gained a lot of weight and he couldn't really be out there doing it anymore. But like when Vince faced him down in favor of Lillian Garcia, why? Because, he didn't look good in a fucking bikini. I don't need to see Howard Finkel in a bikini. What a horrible vision, by the way. But, that's what they were going for. They wanted the younger, attractive female announcer, and they wanted to phase down the old voice, right? And get rid of that. And it's like, you know what? He's still the best fucking ring announcer in the history of the business. And you have that iconic voice. Why would you phase that down? Why would you get rid of that? Five-second reviews. AEW is the closest thing to the ruthless aggression era. It's an interesting take. Yeah, ruthless aggression era minus the women being paid or being, well, probably paid too, but being treated like crap, says Brian. And, God, Solomonster's son. Dad, we need Ilya back on Fridays. I miss him. Yeah, I do too, son. I do too. We've talked about this already. Thank you. Thank you, Solomonster's son. And thank all of you. Those are all your messages. I hope I did my best to answer them. We had a good show tonight. The next time I will be live with you here will be on Friday. EJ says I missed one of his messages. Let's see. I did. I missed two of them, actually. No, I missed three of them. How did I miss three? Dry Chicken says Eva Marie against Io Sky, Al Bundy as the referee. Al Bundy is in Be the Booker. Joseph lives. There was one Joseph I missed. Did you know Leonardo DiCaprio almost played Robin in Batman Forever? I did not know that. And EJ says, would you consider Nick Bockwinkel and Bobby Eaton among the biggest stars to never work for WWE, not counting training or retirement appearances? Yeah, I mean, there would be. Bobby Eaton wouldn't be the biggest. Bockwinkel, though, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Dry Chicken says Vince McMahon against God is a guilty pleasure. Yeah, I don't have any interest in ever going back to relive those days. The good old days of 2006. Yeah, no thank you. I'm good. But what I was going to say is Friday is SmackDown in Bologna, Italy. So again, if you're international or if you're going to watch with your VPN, you should be able to watch the show earlier, depending on what region that you're in. And I will be watching a little bit later. I think what I may do is I'm not going to wait to watch the USA version, but I'll probably end up watching the show around the same time, like 8 p.m. But I'll probably watch it elsewhere so I can kind of get through it a little bit quicker and cut out the commercial breaks. And then I might be able to go live a little bit earlier. So we're going to go live probably in that 10 to 11 p.m. range, hopefully closer to 10 than 11. If we could avoid the beginning of the basketball game, but also I'm going to the movie that we talked about earlier in the afternoon. And so I'd rather just do that than watch SmackDown at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That doesn't really interest me. I want to say, I've been looking forward to this movie for a while, this Masters of the Universe movie. So that's what I will be doing on Friday. And then when we get that done, we'll go live later on in the evening. So at some point after 8 or 9 or 10, I will be live here on YouTube. Hopefully you will be there with me. And we'll talk about SmackDown. TNA Slammiversary this month only has 1,200 tickets sold. Ouch. Well, what venue are they in? Don't tell me they're not back at UBS, right? What you gotta give context here, though. What venue are they in? Are they in a 2,000 seat venue? Because 1,200 tickets in a 2,000 seat venue is not bad. If they're in a building that fits 10,000, then that's terrible. Context is key. It's a lot of wrestling that day, by the way. Slammiversary is the same day as the NXT Great American Bash show and AEW Forbidden Door. TNA show is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, though, so there's no direct competition there. They're in an 8,000 seat venue. Okay, well, that's not good. That's actually quite terrible. Anyway, be well. Stay safe. Have yourselves a great night. All you Knicks fans out there, enjoy the celebration. That was a hell of a win. I got to go check out the end of the game myself. I know it was very close there for a while, and then they kind of pulled away there at the end. So I want to go see how that all played out. But there'll be a lot of smiling faces, I'm sure, in New York tomorrow. So enjoy, and I'll see you back here on Friday for more Sound Off. Until then, take care, guys.